Here we are, Macclesfield.
Mac, finally the Mac.
The Mac lads, on our way from Cheshire to Greater Manchester. So this should be the last big day. We're a bit late on parade, but we did finish last night at 2 in the morning. So I think we deserve a bit of a lie-in. Right,
yeah, there's digging in and there's digging out.
Yeah, there is. So onwards and upwards.
Detective Jon Wedger is a highly decorated, whistleblowing, recently retired Metropolitan Police officer. John believes he was forced into retirement because he had been very active investigating dark secrets of the powerful concerning paedophilia and SRA, satanic ritual abuse. In the film you're about to watch, filmmaker and victim of UK British government child abuse Bill Maloney interviews John a few days after John has completed a 300-mile charity walk from London to Manchester in his quest to extinguish the dark with the light.
Right, day 4, is it day 4?
Yeah, it's Tuesday, isn't it? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, day 4.
So, John, you finished the walk. Well done. Pucker, really, really, really well done. And it's so that you can have a voice, and you're giving victims a voice as well.
Yeah.
But one of the most important things to me as a victim, John, is that you are encouraging police officers that are whistleblowers to come forward, because there is so much information out there that we will never know unless they come out. You know what, with the 100-year rule, you can't put these papers out, these documents, so we're going to wait 100 years and all the perpetrators are dead.
Gagging orders.
Yeah,
gagging orders.
So why did you do this walk, John?
Well, I'm a police whistleblower. Now, I faced total and utter bullying, adversity, in order to have my voice, and it's all about being vocal.
Yeah.
There was no way I was going to keep my mouth shut, but only in respect to what was right.
Yeah.
Now, if they can silence me, it's not just me. I found that in doing this, others came forward, other police officers who had experienced, in some cases, worse than what I'd been through, but on the whole, almost identical sort of campaign of bullying. What chance do victims have? And the reason we come forward is because how the victims were being treated. And it's not just about people's inactions, it's also about their actions. And it's wrong. It's wrong on every conceivable level.
But it's also the subject itself, John. People are frightened of that subject.
Well,
and something that we, both you and I, believe goes on, and we actually know it goes on, is what's called SRA. Satanic Ritual Abuse. Now that goes on, John.
Well, this is the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
This is the elephant in the room. I think any act of sexual crime against a child has got a deep, dark, satanic element to it.
Yeah.
And it's one of them things that the more you look into it, the more it crops up.
Yeah.
And there is an organised element to it.
Yeah.
Now, initially, I didn't really come across it, but then it did start cropping up. And now, the more we're looking into it now, the more it's behind so much.
Yeah.
And then you've got to look at why are these people clamping down on us?
Yeah.
And these are people in position of privilege and power. What is going on? And one of the things that really sort of changed it was when there was a list that was compiled that we class as the Range list.
Oh, you said the name. Ritual abuse.
Ritual abuse, it's an acronym. It stands for ritual abuse or something like that.
I remember the list, yeah.
And on it was such a comprehensive list, and it was so well put together.
What kind of people were on it, John?
It was a mix. I mean, there were names that I never heard of.
Yeah, don't worry about too much about the names. What they've done, where they come from, there was politicians on the name.
There were politicians, there were police officers.
Lords.
There were lords, there were members of the clergy, there were drug addicts.
Yeah.
There were just normal standard people.
Yeah.
A lot of the people come from the care system.
So you're talking about victims. The victims that were... Yeah.
But not just the victims, what they also used, which is similar to what I found with the child prostitution is that the victims would be used then to groom other kids involved.
Yeah.
And it's the same as on that list. It was like the victims of this were being used then to lure in people that of the similar background,
Yeah.
the same ilk. And
Yeah.
this is what grooming is.
Yeah.
You know, they're going about groomers and monsters. Well, you know, the thing is with it, a monster cannot groom a child.
Yeah.
You need someone that's endearing to that
Yeah,
child.
yeah.
We used to call them Romeos.
Yeah.
These lads would come in, and on one occasion it was a woman, and just show a lot of compassion and a lot of love, because these are kids that have had a lot lacking in their lives emotionally and everything else.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden this void is being filled.
My brother Peter was found in a house in Tunbridge Wells, which was owned by the Pilkinson family, the glass people.
Right, yeah.
Now, I believe that my brother Peter was killed. There's a lot more to that. Also, we go back to Mike Veal, Wiltshire Police,
Yeah.
right? Well done, mate.
Yeah.
You've got
yeah.
some bollocks on you. Well done.
Certainly has, yeah.
Well done.
I agree.
Now, Mike, he, in his report, there's a member of my family,
Yeah.
who is dead now, that declared that he was abused by a prime minister of this country. And that member of my family, before they passed away, they told me that as well. And I think that's why Mike incorporated my family into that report.
Yeah.
So,
Well, funny to say that, because Mike has contacted me.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said, you know, if they can do this to me as a chief constable, God only knows what they've been doing to you.
yeah,
And he said to me, what do I expect to happen? And I said, they'll come for you, Mike.
yeah,
They'll come for you like they came for everyone. You know, like Lenny Harper with the Hope de la Garenne in Jersey. You know, when you look at the travesty of justice involving that, when it was human remains, and not only human remains, infant
yeah.
remains.
And the death threats to Lenny.
Lenny suffered death threats.
Yeah, David Jason, when he was working for the BBC a little while ago, he had 3 bodyguards,
Yeah,
24 hours a day.
Yeah, I read that
When Dan
recently.
Lenny got his death threat, why didn't Lenny get a bodyguard?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But go.
We called, yeah, we used
coming
to
back,
go.
coming back to like with Mike Veal, and in addition, Mike Veal's team rang me and they did ask about Bill, yourself and the family.
Yeah.
You know, and they said we will be looking into it, and we'll be trying to get the files.
Yeah.
So, and they did update me. They said,
Yeah.
you know, we can't say too much, but
Well, I'd also just like to mention a guy called Ray Stevenson. Now, Ray Stevenson is a black guy of Jamaican origin, I believe, and he was a victim at Shirley Oaks as well, the same as I was. And Ray, I'm going to give you a big thumbs up, mate, because you got some bollocks as well.
Can I say about with the Shirley Oaks
Yeah.
team? You know, the Shirley Oaks team is an inspiration for anyone who wants to stand up.
Yeah.
You know, because we're standing up as police whistleblowers. Ray and the gang are standing up as victims. You know, and so many of the victims that you know they fall trap to alcoholism, drug addiction, and everything else.
Yeah.
And you know, they then become, in the eyes of law, not credible people, because they end up committing crimes on the whole. Minor crimes of dishonesty, everything else, and
Yeah.
the criminal justice system will then denigrate them instantly.
Yeah.
But what Ray's done is banded people together, and they have moved a mountain.
Yeah, of course.
Legally, they moved a mountain.
And
They're
exposed pedophiles.
And exposed it.
Yeah.
And also, it gives people hope.
Yeah.
And it shows what you can do when you're all pushed in the right direction.
Yeah. But one thing I would like to say is that recently Ray Stevenson has had a letter from Lambeth Council's solicitors banning him from all council buildings because he got angry in a few meetings. Now, in Parliament, I done the same. But they said, as I walked out, John, and you was with me,
Yeah.
I think it was a politician, he stood up and said, "We have just witnessed righteous anger by Bill." Now that is what Ray Stevenson is exhibiting, righteous anger. So leave him the fuck alone.
Well, the angry bee gives you
Swearing
the
in front of
honey.
the police.
The angry bee gives you the honey. Bill,
Yeah,
that's what they say.
yeah, nice, cut that. Sweet.
Rolling.
Right. So, what I met John 8 years ago, John.
Yeah.
That's another story. We'll be talking about that in some point during this film when we met 8 years ago. Now, this man's courage is crazy because he is now a retired police officer, but he's only retired recently, And he was working with me for 7 years before you came anywhere near retirement.
A long time.
And John actually asked if I could work with the police.
Yeah. I approached the paedophile unit, and I said, look, I've got a guy here that he wants to help you. He wants to show you the mythology of these people and the impact it has on victims. And not only that, he's got such a cohesion with the victims. He can get people to come forward and talk with you. And they said, thanks for that. Never heard a word back.
So what you just said, that cohesion with myself and the victims, I would like you, whether you're retired police officers or serving police officers, to really stand up for one of your own, because you all had dreams when you joined the police. You was all doing it for good reasons. And now this man is making you look like mugs. And history will show it. History will show what this man has done. And then within that history, some of you will have come out, but maybe 4 or 5 years down the line. So please don't wait 4 or 5 years. Come forward now and help your brethren.
Can I just say with that, like with your situation, how you grew up, Bill, and there's one thing, I remember in one of the films you did, you said to someone, well, have you got any idea how easy it is for your family network, your stability to be crumbled? If someone has an accident or someone gets sick, and then your kids are looking at their placement being altered by the social services. Now, I started off with the police with all the best intentions. I never wanted to work with the children. They found me, and I ended up in a situation which sort of tied it in really with Bill, with his background. Is I ended up with 4 children. The older 2 children weren't my own. There was so many problems with their mother and everything else, which I won't go into, but there was care orders were looking at being placed on the older 2 kids, and then because I at the time started working with the investigating the paedophiles and the sex offenders, I had a lot of informants, and they started telling me about the care system.
So you were terrified then?
Shocking, because I knew it, and one of them said, whatever you do, them kids don't go into care, and that was never the option. And I went through the family courts, and the kids stayed with me. They did stay with me, and especially the older one. The Kafkas report was that they've never seen such strong loyalty between a child and Mr. Wedger.
Wonderful.
Because he said to them, he was only a young kid, he was 7 years old. He said, I know you're going to take me away, but wherever you go, I'm going to find John. I need to be with John. And that stayed with me. And what I'm saying is, if you abandon your kids, what happens to them? What happens to these kids?
Well, my dad, in one of my in the reports, a social worker said that Mr. Maloney says he doesn't want his boys going into care where some dirty old bastard will mess about with them. And that was all those all those years ago, John.
And when you see, when people say that if they know that your father's an alcoholic or your mother's not there, or your mother's an alcoholic and your father's not there, they know no one's coming for you. There's no big brother going to turn up and start punching people up. They know that they can pick on you.
Well, it's like when my dad used to come and see us at Shirley Oaks. We were all told, especially my brothers and sisters that were in there, spent nearly all their childhood in there, that a Scottish woman, I won't name her, but she said, your dad's a great man, he's a lovely man, he's a this, he's a that. And then my dad come and she said to him, you are a piece of shit. You are a terrible father. So she's saying that to us and saying that to my dad. Try it, because we were all good-looking kids, and they were grooming us. Like there was 7 of us in there, John. 7 of us, and out of the 7 of us that were in there, the three that spent their whole childhood in Shirley Oaks are all fucking dead. And my brother Peter, like I say, was allegedly killed himself in Tunbridge Wells. So
well,
they were tearing us up, and my brothers and sisters also went to the island of Jersey and Hotel Le Garenne.
But when I first exposed what was going on, when I found out of this underbelly, I keep using it through, and there is this subculture that no one knows about, and no one really cares about, of kids from the age of 9 to 14 on heroin and crack cocaine being used as prostitutes. That could have been 2 of my kids. Right, and then when I exposed it, my senior officer, who's now one of the most senior officers in the country, said to me, if you mention a word of this, he said, we're fucked. Past, present and future, we're fucked. I make sure you will lose your home, your children and your job. You must keep your fucking mouth shut. And over the period of time, it was predictive, because this is what they nearly did. You know, so I had that threat that they'll get. For what was I doing? Helping the kids. Now the public need to know that these people, the public are the arbiters, that these people in these positions of power, this is what they do to us. And it's the fear they instill. And what I will say, like Bill was saying about the coppers coming forward, drop the fear. Drop the fear and stick with the truth. And
yeah, you became coppers because you're brave people.
Yeah.
You've got to be brave to become a police officer. There's no two ways about that.
You know?
But the thing is, John, and I understand this 100%, that police officers are terrified of being sent to prison. That is your worst hold against them. Because can you imagine if John was to go and get a bit of bird, as we say, like maybe a year, 2 years or something like that? Well, everyone would want to kill him in there who wasn't a police officer, trust me.
Well, funny that, we were talking to a fella, I'm going to say his name's Dave, and he spent most of his adult life in prison, and some of it in category A, and he's my friend now, and I said to him, Dave, if I went to prison, how would I be treated? He said, you're a good guy. He said, it'll take them a while to like you. He said, but instantly, you're a dead man walking.
Yeah. If you ever go to prison, John, get down the fucking gym and smash the granny out of the punch bag in front of them all. You'll be all right then.
That's the only saying.
John, what were your aspirations when you joined the police force? You know, it's like when I was a kid, just for example, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a detective.
Yeah, same here.
I wanted to be a detective and or a copper because I wanted to fight for the good. Because all the films that were made in my era, bearing in mind I'm 62, at the on the first, well, I'm telling you lot because you trolls, start sending me dodgy cards. But I always wanted to serve for good. And all the top films that came out, when you go back to them, it was always the good guys that won, weren't it? So that can really rip you to pieces. So they ruined your aspirations, they ruined everything. They threatened more or less to take your children away. They done things very snidely, sending police officers round your house and etc. etc. You was diagnosed with PTSD, and I'm the same, and you know, and I'm taking counselling even now as we talk. You know what I mean?
It's really odd. The whole thing is a paradox, and it's. I started off, and like I said, all good intentions, and it was going good. I'm one of these fellas that I struggle with an institution. More than 3 people is a crowd for me, and detectives worked on their own. And like I said, I never went looking for the kids, they found me. But the really weird thing is that, go back to the 90s, London was gripped with heroin addiction and crack cocaine. It's really, so the crack wars were sort of like booming in London. But when you actually took the time out to speak to the addicts, they'd all come from the care system. And it was a no-brainer that child abuse seemed to be the core of it, and I sussed that very early on in my career, and it was weird where the police put their resources, and it wasn't on child protection, it was away from child protection. And when I did end up
but there were members of the police that were involved physically in sex abuse rings.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
No two ways about it.
No two ways about it. No two ways about it. And you have to ask yourself the question, why would anyone want to suppress this information and bully the source of this information? Why?
Yeah.
And you know, and when they say, what said to me, this will fuck us, past, present and future. How is this going to screw anyone by exposing this vile, horrendous crime?
Yeah.
You know, we've seen it with what Maggie Oliver did in Rochdale. The public love her. You know, yet the police were out to destroy her, and the same as us. When I spoke to all these whistleblowing coppers that I've been speaking to, and there's quite a few now, like I said, there's an algorithm of bullying. We've all been bullied and threatened in exactly the same way. You can't even get a cigarette paper between the differences. As we've gone on this walk, we've been speaking to people. We've been speaking to a lot of victims of abuse, but also members of the public. Everyone, 100% is behind us.
Yeah.
You know, even we've had Slug and Lettuce pub. We went in there, and they heard about us. This was in Manchester, and said, we want a photo with you because we want you. The manager said to us, we want you to know that our company are behind what you do, and let's have a photo.
People don't trust like national media anymore, and where information comes from that is supposed to protect the public, our children, etc., etc. It's just not trusted.
But how,
it's not trusted.
How is this not a story?
Yeah.
How is it not a story? I mean, you know, and people, like I've said all along, you can do what you want to children. There's no police units dedicated to deal with it, right? And also, the public aren't interested. If you speak about this, people go, can we not talk about it, please? Yeah. But a couple of years ago, a woman was caught on CCTV throwing a cat in a wheelie bin.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's right, and I'm not saying, well, it's obviously wrong, but, you know, it's still quite a minor thing she did. Yeah. They had to move her. She had to go into witness protection type sort of protection to be moved from her home because of the death threats. Yeah. That outraged the nation. Yeah. How is that comparable to the rape and the murder of children? Yeah.
But I think that the institutions are so complex for the average person on the street, especially the lower working classes, John. They don't, like, I've had murders with Lewisham Council and what Lambeth Council done. We don't trust you councillors. We don't trust you at all. We don't trust you politicians. And John, we was in a pub in Westminster after a meeting in Westminster, and a very high-profile member of Parliament's PA said to John in that pub about me.
Well, he took me outside, said, can I have a word with you outside? So we went outside and he went, be careful working with Bill Maloney. He has got powerful enemies inside and outside of Parliament. And that was on the backdrop of, on our way to the meeting in Parliament, his MP got a phone call saying, do not have Jon Wedger in your office. It's not to have.
Well, there you go.
I think we have to look at organised crime links behind this.
But
well.
It's the money. Follow the money as well,
you
John.
You have to follow the money.
You know what I mean?
They have to follow money, and also in the child abuse, you know, the children are a commodity. They are, you know, they are the gold for certain people.
Yeah.
And if you go back to like the 70s and the 80s, a child porn magazine was worth the same amount of money as a brand new family saloon car.
Yeah.
Huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
And what is strange, going on about the class system, you know, with crime, economic crime, it tends to be the reserve of the lower and the working classes, thieving and whatnot. With child abuse, it's a hot knife through butter for all social stratas. It knows no bounds. And I was approached by a fella who's a peer. He's a titled man. I think he's an earl. And his father was Lord Montague of Bewley.
Oh.
And he was raped by his own father at the age of 9, and his father was a member of Churchill's cabinet. He then went on to the public school system where he was further abused, and he said to me that the fagging system, as they call it in Eton, at the time was nothing more than a rent boy racket.
Yeah.
And he exposed it, was beaten into submission, and he turned around and he said something quite poignant. He said, you know, I know the work you do, John, with Bill and everything else. He said, it's not just the low and the working classes that suffer. If you report it, it might get looked into. He said, when the privileged classes report it, it goes nowhere. Yeah. So it's high up, it's everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And this is something that is uniting us. This is something that we found that has bonded us. You know, I've even sort of done some work with a well-known, high-profile ex-gangster, you know, total different side of the fence, who is coming here to work alongside for the victims of abuse. So it's bringing people together. This is not a diversive thing at all. This is actually amalgamating people.
Yeah, and all you ex-gangsters or still gangsters that aren't nonces, you know who is and who was.
Yeah, you do. And also what I found from another one of the high-profile police whistleblowers is the links between high-ranking coppers and organised criminals. Yeah. And there is a link, and there is a corruptible link. Yeah. And the thing is, when you say anything...
And that's all over London. South London, everywhere. North London, West London, East London, Manchester.
All Birmingham, the whole country, you know, there is this link. And then, of course, the people that are put in a position to sort of adjudicate all this and make sure that it's dealt with fairly, they're part of the clique as well. So what can you do? There's nothing. The only thing we can do is what we're doing now is stand up and say the truth. Yeah. You know, and that is it. And that is the one thing that's amalgamating this, Bill, is the truth, isn't it? Yeah. And, you know, and the hunger for more of the truth to come out.
Yeah. So it stops. It stops.
Yeah. But it's been said to me as well by people that said, you know, what you and Bill do, you're not going to stop it. And I said, well, we will stop something. But to do nothing is not an option. We can't do nothing.
What was that thing you sent me? Evil flourishes when good men do nothing.
Yeah.
But John wrote, when good people do nothing. So come on, girls, let's have a go.
Yeah.
Let's have a go. We shout at you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, these brave lionesses that would never let their cubs hurt, you know, come with us.
And I'd just like to do it on camera that, like I say, and I said this in a major press conference, and you came to it with me, John, in London, the footballers are heroes that come forward, victims of sex abuse. Us, lower working class kids who come forward, we are fantasists and liars. Anywhere kids are, John, I believe, and I've always said this to you, whether it's swimming clubs, athletic clubs, football clubs, boxing clubs, you will find nonsense wherever there are children. And you go to a kid, you say, oh, you've got a great style, a great stance, you're a great little boxer, come on, I'll buy you an ice cream. There you go, it's off.
Well, it's grooming,
and then it
isn't it?
becomes a fag and a fucking, you know what I mean?
Grooming.
So, shall we,
Move on.
cameraman smiling. Let's give you one more look at Dylan. Come on, Dylan, this is your big chance,
You're
right?
recording now.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
No, I want to say that I'm not personally a victim of child abuse. I don't have my own children, and I hate bullies, and I love the work these guys are doing, and I'm just stepping up to the plate, and everyone can. We've got to reach out to whistleblowers, people in government. Everyone could just spread the word, even if it's spreading stuff on social media.
Yeah, but why did you join the army?
Why did I join the army? Because I don't want to put
To
something
protect.
back in. Yeah, put something back in.
To protect the people of this country, and
Yeah,
that includes the
society.
children as well.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
So you're just the same as John. You've got it in you, mate.
Yeah.
You've got it in you. It's called being decent.
Decent. Common
Anyway,
sense.
right now, fuck off.
Fuck you.
Go fuck off. Hang on, I can't get it in. Yeah, go and fuck off.
Bill
fucker.
fucking... Drop the fear. Drop the fear and stick with the truth.